Good morning. Happy Monday. Are you nice and warm and cozy? Hope you are. Cold frozen outside, right? Yeah, we're freezing out there. That's snowpack. And now we're getting some sunshine, but it's not going to help in a big way. Live view right now, looking at the storm tracker. This is near Cherokee Park. On its way to see whether or not we do have slutters out on this cold Monday morning. We'll be monitoring that. Again, this is a live feed right now. Yikes, not exactly the smoothest of rides, right? All right, I hope you guys are doing well. I am wave meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to SnowTALK on this 26th day here of January. All right, everyone's getting all the notifications, getting logged in, seeing what's up. Hey. All right, so I'll go ahead and say this because you know what's coming. I'm not sure how much time I really want to spend here on the storm setup, and before I get into the what's next. And the reason for that is if you've been an avid watcher of the blog, you know what was up. You knew how this was going to play out as far as the caveats, the things we were watching for. We talked about the storm so much, and that's what made this stand out. And we knew at the same time, even before the storm arrived, we had discussions like, boy, I tell you what, if this doesn't line up exactly right, the social media reaction will be insane. We got that right, for sure. But that's what happens when something is talked about for a long time. Whether it is a winter storm or a hurricane coming toward the United States, it's the same thing. It's got a lot of attention way in advance because the signal was so strong. Remember, we first talked about this in December. January 6th, it was on the blog here on SnowTALK. January 13th, I did a special post about this particular storm saying we don't know what will happen, but I can tell you it's going to be a high impact event. That was the point we're trying to drive home. This is a high impact event. Don't get too caught up on the numbers, but that's what happens. And people see numbers on a different source, whether it's social media or a different station, and they say that's our numbers, and it gets all confusing. And you know what? Everybody was on the same path because meteorologically speaking, we knew this was a factor, would be that warm nose that comes into play. In fact, cross station, we were communicating. Even that Saturday night when I was here with Carson, we were communicating about trying to get more data as much as we could about where the sleet and freezing rain line was. So we were all deciphering this down to the second, deciding we got to trim. And Carson and I looked at each other and we're like, we've got to trim this map even more. Like we trimmed it on Saturday. And we finally got it to the point where we think we were sort of happy with it by the time we got into the event, but not perfect, obviously. But as we all know, anytime you get a line like that going through the core of who is watching, which is a lot of you in the Louisville Metro, then that's the problem you run into. But doing this a long time, this is not the first time we've seen this type of setup, but where no one's really paying attention exactly what we're saying or the finer details, or just sees one forecast and runs with it for a week and a half. It doesn't check back in for an update. There are a lot of factors on this, but you guys are different. You're the SnowTALK blog. So folks that we have in the chat. So I don't really want to go into too much detail on it because if you're on the blog, you have been watching and have been listening to what we're saying. So I'm just kind of beating a dead horse, so you guys know. So I don't want to bog you down because I really think you guys are like, let's move on. What's next, right? Type 3 if you agree. And if you don't, let me know and I'll try to explain if you need me to explain more. But type 3 if we're ready to move on. Deal? Meteorologically speaking, while you're typing, I think the one thing that stood out to me, not so much was the warm nose that came up to Louisville. That was always an issue. What stood out to me is the Saturday snow. Not the rates were not as intense Saturday afternoon as expected, and Saturday overnight we lost what we call the DJZ. We lost the ability to hold on to a snowflake above our head a lot faster than what the data indicated. That first piece, the first leg of the snow, underperformed, and that set the train wreck down for what was happening later. So we were just like in reaction mode at that point, or nowcasting we call it. That's a pain when you're in that situation, but that was the first sign, was the first piece was a little off, a little odd in how it was evolving. But anyway, we got through it. Look how bad things have been, though, on impact in the area. Imagine if we had over a foot and a half in Louisville. It'd be worse. This is already bad enough, guys. So we're trying to get to the point where we're just trying to get back to normal, right? So everybody can get back moving again. So that will be happening as the week evolves. Obviously, the roads today, some of them were treated well, and if you take it slow, you're fine. Obviously, in some cases, you can make your own lane. I think 65 was mainly 2 lanes. At some points, you can get up to 3, but mainly 2, heading between Southern Jefferson County into downtown on 65. The Snyder, good and bad, depending where you're at. A lot of side roads. I was on Preston Highway for a while. Preston Highway, yeah, maybe 1 lane in some cases. And neighborhoods were a mess. A lot of neighborhoods, the plows, if they did come by, and usually it's someone, and maybe a neighbor that comes by, but they come by and then it creates the wall of a barrier at the foot of your driveway. So that will be one of the harder things you got to deal with, is try to get that barrier taken down so you can get the car out, because that is going to become nothing but a concrete wall. And that is going to be a pain. So please be careful with those mounds of snow, especially when you see the exit ramps and acceleration ramps there on the interstates and say the emerging lane. The plows, they had to literally follow the lines, right? Sometimes when you merge on, you tend to get over a little faster, right? You cross over that little triangle point. You can't do that with these snow mounds. It has created just the same as a concrete wall. So you got to finish the lane all the way out and then merge into traffic. It's going to be like that for a bit. So be careful. Don't try to think, oh, I can just go through this. It's snow. It will be like a concrete wall and you will crash, and you will lead to a chain reaction crash. So please be careful and just keep that in mind on entry ramps and around the interstate systems. That's going to be an issue for a while. And we saw that last year in January, but just to kind of remind you all that with frigid air like this, it's really hard on our cars, so be very careful. Okay, everyone good? Did I see a lot of 3s? Let me go back. Let me go back. 3, 3, 3. All right, everyone seems a lot of 3s. Okay, good. Fair enough. Because I want to move on, because we do have other things we got to cover. Speaking of those mounds, let me show you right now, actually. Here's a live look at the storm tracker, and I'm going to kind of went a little flat there as we went along. But this is on, I want to say 65. Let me see where the sign is. You can see, again, the edges there where you got treatment. It's very slushy, and then you get into more just wet conditions. Oh, no, it's the Waterston Expressway at Poplar Level. Okay, I know where that is. Sorry. And you see the other two lanes good. Now, all three good there, right? I mean, that's fine. I think you have one extra lane, but I think it's not touched to the far left in that case of the Waterston. But that's actually not a bad shot at all, to be honest with you. And the sun being out is big here, guys, because with the sun being out, it will help in activating salt. Even though we're way below freezing, it does help. If the sun rays can hit the salt, it does help in activating it. So I'm glad to get a sunny day. That will help us out a bit today on trying to get some of the treatment done in an accelerated fashion. But it does also mean a clear sky. It means very, very cold tonight, which will lead into the extreme cold that we're talking about for tonight, especially. Let's see how this ramp looks here as he gets off at Poplar Level Road. This is Chris Stowe, by the way. Shout out to him, driving Storm Tracker here this morning. Again, everything looks fine there on that particular ramp. Preston being one of the state roads, it gets treated. Should be in pretty good conditions there, but we'll see here in just a second. I'll leave this up while you guys are kind of watching it here. Hold on one second. Whoop, took the wrong one. Hold on one second. Yeah, I'll leave that up. I won't mess with anything. I won't mess up the shot. Olivia, nice to see the sun, even if it's freezing. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Again, it works in our favor during the day, works against us with a clear sky at night. No apologies needed. It's Junior's job. Just grateful to get the ice storm. Thank you, Laura. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that could have been wrong with this that were worse, but getting the sleet actually, as I said before, if we're cutting snow totals down, that means it's not a good thing. It means you're adding in ice and a sleet mix into this whole thing. So yeah, you don't have the giant snow, if you will, but it makes it a lot harder with that layer of sleet in the middle. If you've cleaned out your car or cleaned up your car, you know what I'm talking about. It cuts like a piece of cake. It's right in the middle of the snowpack. So it'll be a challenge. And two, be careful lifting out in the driveway as well. All right, a little rough here on Poplar Level. It's like a lane and a half. Some of this is mainly slush, though, but slush is slick. So still just reduce your speed because you can still slide in this stuff, even though you're thinking, okay, well, it's been treated. It's fine. No, it's still slick. So just take it slow. And you see all the mounds in the middle. That's one of the things, those middle lanes, when you're traveling there, you're so used to getting in the middle lane to turn into a shopping center, a neighborhood, or a side street, and you may not be able to make those turns because the snow mounds are in the way now. So you're gonna have to keep an eye on your routes if you have to venture out and kind of readjust them. And that's one of the reasons why schools are closed too. Not only extreme cold, of course, but buses have a hard time maneuvering in these situations where they have to make those turns into certain neighborhoods. It affects their route, so they have to get all that cleared out. And you can see all the way to Louisville Zoo. Louisville Zoo, I believe, is closed today. You don't see the zoo closed very often. They only close like one day a year, which is Christmas, I believe. So they've been closed for a few days because of the snow and ice. So very unusual to see that, but I'm sure the animals are good. Trying to stay warm. All right, head down toward Ottoman Hospital there. You see, again, one lane looks good, but again, that sun is key. The sun is key. So if the sun's hitting your driveway, that'll play in your favor for sure for later on today. We'll check back in with Chris there in the storm tracker and see how things are looking as you venture around town. All right, there's looking Bardstown. Now, Bardstown's a little different. You notice what stands out on this shot? Let me see if you guys are paying attention. There's something that stands out pretty obvious in the shot that you did not see on other SkyTrack cameras in Louisville. See if anyone guesses it. Hey, Troy, another Jeep day. You're right. Yeah, Jeeps do great. I don't have a Jeep. I do have all-wheel drive. I did good. I mean, my driveway was the biggest hurdle. I just had to get out of the mounds and get over my little area to get into the roadway. But other than that, I took it slow, and I didn't have any problem just taking it slow. That's the key. Please just don't, if you got to venture out, don't get into, you guys got it. Ice in the trees. You right, Brad and Amy and Lindsay got it as well. Yeah, it's the ice. It's on the tree. Look at that glistening. Now, that's where ice is pretty, right? That's the only time that ice is pretty, is when you have that glistening effect with the sun hitting it. So for those that have that on the trees, get your camera shots in because it's a pretty shot. And thankfully, you can get a ton to cause massive power outages. We have power outages, but not massive, like 09 kind of stuff or anything like that. But there was definitely some weight being pulled on the power grid in that area for the power lines. But yeah, kind of watch. I see the icicle on the lens of our camera too. Okay, so let's move on. Let's get into where we're going with this for the rest of the day today. Currently in Louisville, it's 9. That is the coldest we've been so far today, right when the sky cleared. The sky cleared about 2 hours ago, and as soon as it did, the thermometer dropped from roughly 12 down to this 9. So we sink almost immediately. Now we'll hold steady I don't think we're going to move much from here on out for the rest of the day. If you're a 3, like in Paoli, 6 in Corydon, you're not going to move a lot today. The sun is not going to really help because a snowpack reflects the light and the heating back out to the atmosphere. Instead of absorbing it into the ground to warm you up, it bounces it the other way, which is why you have to wear sunglasses on a day like today, because it hurts your eyes. You actually are seeing that bouncing back happen in a light fashion. So that is going to keep us cold today, for sure. Very, very bright outside. Current wind chill was coming in. Let's see if I got that. It wasn't overly strong. Well, it doesn't take much, apparently. 6 below 0 here, but 13 below in Jasper. Some areas, though, it's not as bad. But if you stay in the sun, you'll be not exactly warm, but you'll be better if you are in the shade, that's for sure. Okay, let's get into the radar. There's not much to show here. We've had a couple of flurries with that last little batch of clouds, but again, with the clearing sky, it's moving out. But here's what's so fascinating is now we're getting into the clearing to where you can see the entire winter storm from space. And some of this is cloud cover in Texas. You can see the snow training over Dallas-Fort Worth. That's pretty wild, right? But there's the extent of it. That's snow all the way through here. Memphis, northwest Mississippi area, all the way into Kentucky. And then the northern part of it looks like around Chicago. And some of this is other previous storms. But in general, that was about the range of the wintry mass. It's still ongoing in this area, so I can't see the full extent from space because it's right now being blocked by clouds. But still, these are images that are pretty wild. Let me zoom in a little more. Sometimes you can really see the details of rivers too, like the Wabash as the sun's coming up. You can see it right there. I mean, that is not something we drew. The interstates are drawn on the system, but that is actually the Wabash heading all the way down the Mississippi. Pretty cool to see that. You don't realize how many rivers you got and lakes and streams and creeks until you see a shot like this where they're all enhanced by the snow from space there. Always a beautiful shot. Okay, so what is, of course, the cold weather alerts and warnings we got. Cold weather, extreme cold weather warning. I know you're like, cold weather. It's been cold for a long time. It's winter. They changed the wording on this to just say cold. They didn't want to put extreme in it anymore, I think, but it's the same thing. That's what it means. So we still say that because we're old school, but extreme cold weather warnings we're talking about for Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, all the way down into Texas. It's relative to where you're at. Everybody's climate's a little different, but everybody has something abnormally happening in their climate. So that's why you see the alerts go all the way down to the Gulf. All right, ours is all the way through Saturday, or excuse me, Tuesday afternoon, actually. We have Tuesday morning listed here, but it's actually Tuesday night, I believe. But this is not it. So we have other alert days because we're going to get more extreme cold weather warnings later this week. We have a lot of alert days. A lot of them will be for cold, to be honest. 1 or 2 maybe because of snow. We'll come back to that in just a second. All right, let me move on to the forecast wind chills for tonight, early tomorrow morning. Right now we're thinking about 9 below, 15 below in some spots. These numbers seem a little higher than what we had, what we're expecting. I think it's going to be lower than this. I think we're looking at 15 to 20 below. I'm not sure. The system, I think, just jumped up for some reason in a very odd way. But I think it's going to be 15 below or colder. Very, very cold. All right, so we're going to hold on to the cold setup for the rest of this week. What about snow? A couple snow chances. These are light overall. It's all because we have a giant Hudson Bay type setup here where that low just spins. These little pieces kind of just flow around it. Just spin, spin, and spin. We're going to get more of those the next couple of days. The first one will be tomorrow. That will move through. Now, majority, because it's like a spoke, you have to think of a center like this, and then the spokes are kind of like pinwheel around, kind of like that. So and it's rotating counterclockwise. So as these spokes are turning like a pinwheel, one will kind of just graze us or slap us with a batch of very light snow. In many cases, flurries, but you can get some very light accumulations out of it. It's Arctic snow, if you will, very, very small flakes. The first little spoke may be tomorrow afternoon, evening. Cincinnati will get the majority of it, but the tail of it may go as far west as 65. I'm thinking most of it will be east of 65 as it looks now. Before I move on, hold 1 second. Let's see where Chris is here. I think he's in the Highlands. Oh, Shelby Park. He's in the Shelby Park area. Yeah, see, that's not too good, right? All frozen solid there. I mean, it's been plowed for sure, but it's compacted down in a big way there. And, ugh. That's always fun to dig your car out of those spots, right? Anyway, I'll keep it down the feed. Just want to pass it on that we're watching them. All right. So that's the first little spoke of some light snow. And then we get another one for Thursday into Friday. Now, this is where we get into the weekend setup that has been talked about a lot. And the best way I can try to explain this, and I was trying to think of an analogy today. If in the summertime when you're going to a lake and you get on the diving board and you jump off, and there's that big inflatable, I don't know what you call those things, but the big inflatable thing, and someone's already sitting on it, and you jump off and you hit onto the inflatable, and then the other person sitting gets shot way in the air. Okay, that's kind of how this is going to evolve this weekend, and the best analogy I can give. This cold blast of air, this chunk of it, is going to just drop and crash right into the central United States in the Ohio Valley. When that happens, there's going to be, poof, something's going to pop on the other side and fly up. That will be the low pressure out of the Gulf. So as of right now, that would mean the majority of that would miss us. And it does fit the pattern right now that would be the most likely scenario. While we still have the storm on the map right now, I'm thinking that is a likely ordeal. But we can still get some impacts from that. Don't get me wrong. The first piece of that, when that's high, the reinforcing shot, when it drops down to crash on us, there will be a line of snow on the leading edge of that. That is going to be your snow that we'll have for even late Wednesday night and maybe even Thursday night. There could be even some light snow bands that form along that. The models are going to have a tough time figuring that out. They're all going to be light, and I'm talking like an inch or less kind of stuff. But when you're cold like this, obviously it's going to just coat everything again, like your cars get recovered again to very light coating. This is not a big snow. This is Arctic moisture. So as we've always said, warmer air holds more moisture, but it comes at a risk, as we just saw this past weekend. You get just enough warm air, you get a big snow. You get too much warm air, you get something other than snow, and it becomes a snow eater, as we refer to as sleet. All right, saw what happened there, right? But once again, Louisville tries to battle that warm flow. But in this case, this is all cold, coming straight down. Every layer is cold. So there's no issue of, is this going to be sleet or is it going to be freezing right now? No, we're all cold. We're all below 32. So, but colder air holds less moisture. So this has got a limit to it. You could still get, a nice little burst of snow out of this for a light accumulation. And we'll fine tune these as we evolve through the week and get a better idea on timing, because they're all a little different. And we don't want to bog you down on too much detail right now until we get a better idea on the timing of them. But just know almost every day we may have something like this that kind of drops to the area. Very light snow. All right, anyway, here's the Arctic high, settles in, drops down, sits into the Gulf area. When that happens, boom, it shoots the low pressure up the East Coast. Boy, I tell you what, they got to be really watching this. This could be an interesting setup for the Eastern Seaboard. I mean, we've already got the brutal cold air. We've got a snowpack, so there's zero friction. Cold air masses tend to warm as they go along bare ground across the lower parts of the North American continent. They warm as they track south because of friction. But if it's all snow on its journey from the North Pole, then it just guides along. There is no friction, and it stays brutally cold the entire journey. Well, that's going to happen with this cold snap for this week. Another reinforcing shot of it. That will slide all the way down to the Gulf. So this next low pressure, a good chunk of it is going to be snow. It could be big. And I think the East Coast is going to be watching this carefully. They get the stress on this one for sure. We don't. We can get grays with light snow, absolutely. You can get some from the actual northwest part of the shield of the low, depending on how far inland it tracks. But you're also going to get a reinforcing shot, another little vort that'll dive in from Lake Michigan and try to join the party. It'll slide straight down 65. That too will have a light snow component at some point over the weekend. Timing again to be worked out, but it's likely that will join in. And what that does is it wraps into the low and just really enhances it even more as it churns up the eastern seaboard. And you can kind of get a hint of that with looking at the Euro here. I think that's a good play out. All right, that moves out. Here comes another clipper. Yay. It's almost like a warm front in a way, but it's a boundary that should have maybe some snow with that. Again, light snows for early next week. And we try to warm up, but unfortunately, I already see the sign of another drop that happens. I had data I was going to show you on the teleconnections. For some reason, our systems are still tired and not wanting to cooperate today, but everything is still lined up through Valentine's Day to keep this pattern at play. The PNA is positive. NAO, Arctic Oscillation, EPO, those are all negative. That tells us that the weather pattern in North America is about the same through Valentine's Day. We may get close to freezing next week. We may even slide above it a day or two. I'm not ruling that out. But if you're thinking we're going to get in the 50s and 60s anytime soon, no, that is certainly not going to happen. Even those 4 days are going to be tough until we get out of this type of block that we got. And again, it's going to take likely until mid-February. But I do not see any big snows right now in the signals that I'm looking at. Again, the one we had this past weekend stood out a month in advance. That signal was strong. I'm looking for other signals. Right now, I don't see one at play. As soon as I do, you guys know, I'm going to tell you, this is what the block's for. This is what we do on SnowTALK. We talk about anything down the road, but I don't. Everything looks to be Arctic cold, light snows and clippers, that kind of stuff. And the East Coast is a little more at risk now for a winter storm than we are. Any questions? Pretty self-explanatory, right? Let me get into the 10-day real quick. I think it's next. It is. All right. 12 today. Much of that 12 was at midnight. We're going to likely stay below that for much of the rest of the day. We'll go about 2 below tonight. We try to have one of those little jumps up into the lower 20s here, but again, these little clippers and clouds will likely keep that at bay. The overnight lows, that's something that we'll track. I tell you what, there is some bust potential on lows because if we stay cloudy at night with these little waves and clippers, that does keep your thermometer up from dropping too low. But if it clears only for an hour or two, you will certainly sink below zero. So there's not really a good balancing act on that. So we'll go with near that 5 below to positive, maybe 3 or 4 at night until we get a better handle on it. But I'm thinking right now, tonight into Tuesday, we'll have some of the coldest mornings, and then that reinforcing shot for the end of the week as that high drops down and does the whole inflatable in the lake analogy. When that happens, we also drop again in highs and lows for the weekend. And again, more light snow next week. That may trend to more alert days just because of travel impacts that we could still have. You may be asking, can I get out of the roads in? Are we going to get out at some point later this weekend? The sunny day like today will help, but we got a lot of cloudy days coming our way, so that's going to slow it down just a bit. But don't expect rapid improvement. It is going to be very slow. This snow is going to be on the ground through Valentine's Day. You're going to see it outside. We may have snow on the ground all the way through the rest of February. Who knows? It may take a while. The snow mounds for sure, I think, won't go away until March. And parking lots, those things will be around for a while, maybe longer. All right, is everyone good? Is everyone good? I think so. Adam, I just answered that, I hope. When's the thawing happen? Probably May. Somewhere in May. Tina's ready. She's ready for the warmer weather. I'll tell you, now that we're going to, when we get to 50, 55, you know how awesome it's going to feel? Everyone's going to be wearing shorts. That's the plus side on winters like this. When you get to spring, it feels awesome. It's spring. The birds are chirping. It's only 62 outside, but 62 in September, and everyone's got a winter coat on. So it should be fun. Let's see. Everyone good? Let's see what other comments you got. Never thought 32 could look so good. Yeah, I get it. Just, again, be patient with us on the alert day setup. I'm going to be monitoring that over the next few days to see what adjustments we'll have to make on the alert days. But some of that will be cold and some of that will be snow. But again, I don't want you guys to take those as big events are coming. They're just impactful events, and certainly dangerous cold of below zero, 15 to 20 below wind chills especially. You can get frostbite and hypothermia quick. So I know the kids want to be out on the stuff. I understand. And it's fair that certain times like today, certain times during the day, they could be out for a little bit for sure, but not long periods of time. And, kids are resilient. They're not going to tell you that they're frozen, right? They're going to be out there as long as they can to have fun. You're going to have to keep an eye on them and make sure that they get in. And certainly your pets, they're going to let them do their business and let them get back in. And if you have a high maintenance dog like I do, you're going to have to shovel a spot to shovel grass or they will not go out. And that's sad. I have to do that. My dog is so spoiled. Poor Dobie. This is over, that area. You get close to the triangle area into the Highlands. You see some of the, roads are, they're rough. 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, you can get through this. Now, if you have rear-wheel drive, in many cases, you'll be fine until you have to cross over one of those side roads, and that's where you're going to run into a risk. I did see a couple people in my neighborhood that were stuck because they had only rear-wheel drive, and they could not get out of their driveway at all. The tires just were spinning, and they were getting neighbors to come over and try to help push. So that's the problem. You got, if you can't get over those snow mounds, then you may be at risk. But for most of the area roads on traveling, the snow is not deep enough to have that much of a worry. It's more about speed. Take it slow and try not to and slow down. What'd you say, Marianne? Diva Dobie. Dobie is a diva for sure. Snowfall map. I was going to show you that. Oh, I forgot to update this graphic. In case you're wondering, the snowfall in Louisville, by the way, was 5.9 for the system. I had 6.2 at my house. I think we had about an average of 5 to 8 from the one end of the Louisville metro to the other. And in Indiana, we had 10 to 16, depending on where you're at in Indiana. So the highest, which we were betting our money more on, would be north. That's where your higher total was, and a little bit lower on the south side. Louisville was the catalyst in the middle. But look at that season total, 17.1. I think we're only about 5 inches, maybe 6 inches away from being in the top 10 snowiest winters. Hey, that's not bad. And this pattern is still prime for something else down the road, obviously. We don't know what's coming our way. I mean, still got to get through March. So we got a long way to go here, but we'll see how that total ends up. We're already well past our averages, which is 13.4. Yikes. All right, I'm going to end it for now, guys. I just want to update you on where we're at on the cold and the wintry setup here on the light snow chances. I'm working on more of that today on the timing. We're going to have more maps to cover that as well. And then we'll take these wind chill issues with the cold weather, extreme cold weather warnings that are out. We'll take those one day at a time and fine tune them, let you know where we stand on that. So please keep checking back in with our forecast and all of our stats on the data that we're showing. And we'll keep it on the 10-day as well. Fair enough? All right, guys. I'm going to run. Thank you all, as always, for your support and watching and keeping up to date. As I always say, I think SnowTALK has got one of the best chats in town. You guys are awesome. Appreciate it. I'll see you soon.